Kathy.
Hello, Vinay. Um, we are back. Thank you for letting us take our little brief hiatus, and we are back, and we are going to hit you with a case. I don't know. You might be here next week before we get to this case. This is. I thought that. What was our longest one?
Vanished in plain sight or missing
Oh
in
yeah, 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 yeah. I thought that was, and this one is like, well, we'll start right off. We are talking today about John Wayne Gacy. This fits into our stranger danger because it, okay, I don't know. It's still not, well, obviously it's strange. He was
he was
offing
strange.
people everywhere, but I still think B is always going to win. I don't know though. John Wayne Gacy is a strange looking dude.
The killer clown.
The clown. Um, yeah. Although there's no proof that he ever dressed up as a clown to kill someone. So,
Yeah, there was one incident when one of the guys that survived talked about how he came home from somewhere and he was standing there. It was like late at night and he was dressed as a clown. It was the guy's birthday. And he was standing there dressed as a clown at like 11 something at night. And there's this young man like, "What are you doing?" He was just like, "I thought it'd be fun to dress as a clown for your birthday."
oh my gosh.
Like,
Oh my gosh. Well, and as we discussed, I mean, well, actually now that we're talking about it since we did the clown invasion of 1981, actually this was before, so maybe this triggered some of the clown fear
it
because
might.
yeah, because he was his, oh gosh, he was doing terrible things forever, all of the 70s pretty much. But it was like what, like 70, it was really the victims and then the murders themselves was like 72 to 78.
I think so. Plus
Yeah.
his clown face, and it had pointed like a bat. It
It was
wasn't
very,
it
yeah.
wasn't that rounded, cute, you're trying to be sweet. It was very aggressive
Right.
pointed.
Right. Right. Oh,
I'll stick a picture in here so they can see what he looked like as Pogo the Clown. It was Pogo, right?
yeah, it was Pogo, and I actually found out why he named himself Pogo,
Why?
because he was Polish. So that was the Po. And because he was a businessman, he was always on the go.
Oh my God. Corn,
Pogo.
corn.
Well, and as you know, you will, if anybody watches anything about him, you will hear over and over, he's a businessman. So he's to be taken very seriously because he's a businessman. Um,
Powerful.
but he let me see. I'm gonna try to get my quick facts ready here. Trying. Doesn't mean it'll happen. So he was born on St. Patrick's Day,
I did not know that.
1942.
You've got all the stats. I don't know that.
Yes. He was born in Chicago, Illinois. He had I think if we're going to go into family trauma, his dad was not the greatest dad. His dad expected a lot of him, and I think he probably picked up on, which would not have flown at this time period, probably latent homosexuality vibes, which to the bitter end he claimed he was not a homosexual. I don't know if you got to that part where he talks about that there are three types of sexuality. Did you get to that part? So there's heterosexual, and then there's homosexual, and there's bisexual. And his theory on bisexuality is not that you like both sexes per se, it's that you just have sex to have sex. And I'm like, I don't think that's the actual definition of bisexual.
He couldn't stand the stereotype back then of a gay man. He just was, to him, it was not a powerful man. And his father really wanted him to be the man. And here he was interested in cooking and planting flowers. I,
Mm-hmm.
flowers, and there's nothing wrong with planting flowers. I also cook, but my dad was also a cook. So.
That's right. Well, and I would think of a lot of chefs were male. Hello, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We can leave this in. It's my daughter's 24th birthday today. You go to work. Okay. I forgot the balloons. I'm sorry. Well, there was our birthday celebration.
I really didn't know we both had summer babies.
Yeah.
Didn't know our babies was summer.
Yep. My daughter is such a Cancer. Oh my goodness.
Mine is on the cusp. What is it? Gemini and Cancer. And oh my God, I don't know who that is from day to day.
And my daughter, Cancers are supposed to be very dramatic, very emotional. And it's like, oh, Emily got all of that. All of that.
Because you got almost the 4th of July, baby, and I've got a summer solstice.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Emily, all of her childhood thought that the fireworks were just the precursor to her birthday, that was how you were supposed to celebrate. And I still haven't had Mr. keeps disappearing for every podcast. I know we have Mr. fans who want to see him, but he likes to hang out with the cats. He thinks the dogs are weird, and he goes down with Emily's cat. But yeah, so okay. Thanks everyone for that little interlude of my daughter's birthday. But anyway, so somewhat of maybe a rough, I mean, it's definitely tough that he had to repress this side of himself, but at the same time, he like really repressed it. Like he was like disgusted by homosexuality, and it made no sense because clearly that's what he was looking for. But
well, I think his father, now didn't his father have a drinking problem as well? I mean, wasn't he an alcoholic also?
I don't remember that.
I might be getting it mixed up with someone else. I just know his dad was pretty rough. I mean, he was pretty rough to him. He did not treat any of them well, but especially him because he wanted.
Yeah.
Now, when he first got married, his dad seemed pretty happy about that because it was like finally he's a man and he's got kids. He's showing that he's not gay.
Yeah, he married. Her name was Marilyn. I don't think it's Marilyn. I think it's Marilyn. Like there's no I in there, but it might be Marlon. It might be Marlon. And had 2 children. That was in the that would have probably been the mid 60s. Like 60s.
And from what from all we know, who knows what he did as a kid if he had opportunities, but from what we know, he didn't have any incidents until after he got married, right? I mean, I know legally he never did.
Legally he never did. And then he ended up, because his father-in-law owned Kentucky Fried Chicken franchises, he gave him a Kentucky Fried, I think he had 3 different stores. So now he is a businessman. Never forget this. And he is, he's successful now. His dad's happy with him. He has kids. He's married. He has his own businesses.
He got really heavily involved in politics too. I mean, he was in the JCs or whatever that was.
I had never heard of the JCs until.
Oh, I've heard of it, but I don't know. I don't care about politics, but I've heard of the JCs a lot. And he was like, he was. Well, they say it was like a big wig in that thing. Basically, he talked to everybody and he got all kinds of donations, and people really wanted him because he had a big mouth, I guess, and he could really bring in the money to help the political parties. So he made himself, like.
Yeah, I think he could definitely schmooze, and which to some extent, like I watched the Gacy tapes. Which was actually just literally him talking. I find it so hard to believe that he could schmooze, but I guess, I mean, maybe it's also the type of people you're schmoozing. Like they're all kind of, tooting their own horn and whatever. So maybe, but he I when I was watching that, I was thinking to myself, this is predominantly, of course, at this time period. I'm sure it was all men. It was like because one of the things he introduced, I don't know if you saw this, but he introduced stag. And they love to talk about stag films. He was
Oh yeah,
talking about
yeah.
a
He
stag,
always
but
show the boys the stag
he
films.
well, and he actually introduced that to the JCs. They would have stag film nights. Like, so he was definitely pushing this like straight macho guy thing. But at the same time, he's hanging out with all these men who it must have been like a high point for him. Like, and they were admiring him. And so I wonder if that made him sort of, again, realize he was not that happy with married life. And by all accounts, he seemed to like his children. He didn't have them with him very long because he decides to run for president of the JCs, and he has his last name was Voorhees. I remember that because hey, Friday the 13th, I can remember that. I think his name was Donald Voorhees. Um, he was a friend in the JCs. And this is gonna make you wonder about the ultimate stupidity of John Wayne Gacy. It was Donald Voorhees, and he hired him as his campaign manager. And he saw his teenage son on the side of the road. This is again a friend who is his campaign manager, and he picks up the teenage son because, and of course the son goes because his dad knows this guy, and he takes him to his house, I think.
I think yeah, took him to his house and started showing him some things.
Stag films. It's
Who
weird that
knows what
phrase went
kind?
away.
Who knows what those were though? The ones at his house.
That's true, but he and gave him beer, and then did
Raped them basically.
did inappropriate things with this teenager who, again, why would he think that this poor boy isn't gonna tell his father, who's like friends with this guy, that this happened? And so old John Wayne heads to heads to prison for the first time, and that is in 1968. And he is charged with sodomy, and he is sent to the Iowa State Men's Reformatory in Anamosa, where he he doesn't like it. He's not happy. He's not cut out. He's decided to, I mean, there's actual tapes of him like crying. Like he does not want to be in prison. But he makes the best of it. He actually got sentenced to
Wasn't that 10 years he got
10
sentenced,
years.
but he only served like 18 months, I
He
think.
did serve 18 months, and he was out in 1970. But even when he was in there, he was playing the game. He figured out if he worked in the kitchen and he could control the food,
And he
he could,
liked to cook.
and he could make friends by handling the food. So he kind of made his time there okay. And then because there's no cross referencing anything, and I can't remember where was that, because he wasn't in Chicago yet.
Well, plus he learned a valuable lesson. That was his first clue. Well, he actually learned two lessons. One, you don't hunt in your own neighborhood.
Right.
Second, you don't leave witnesses.
And that's definitely what became the
And what's crazy is when he started doing what he was doing, he wasn't technically hunting in his own neighborhood anymore because he was getting runaways, kids that were hitchhiking. And then the one that slipped him up was when he tried to hunt in his backyard.
yep.
You not
One,
learn anything. You just
he
circle
didn't.
right back around.
He did. Well, it's almost like he couldn't control it.
Yeah,
He just
yeah.
couldn't control. But that one, that uh that was in Iowa where he did his time. So, and also at that point, his wife rightfully filed for divorce, and basically the father was a pretty powerful and also he did not like the father-in-law because the father-in-law treated him like his dad did, which is you're kind of
Worthless. And
yeah. Well, he wasn't going to have a Kentucky Fried Chicken franchise if he hadn't married into it. It wasn't
no.
like so. But he has no wife, no kids. He never sees his kids again
No.
at that point. The wife, Marilyn, whatever, Marlin, whatever, takes the children and they're done. Like,
And he moves back to his home state, right? After
yeah,
that.
he moves, but he moves to Chicago. I
Okay.
don't know. Was he in Chicago the whole time? Wasn't he on? No, he was in Des Plaines. So he
Yeah.
moved into
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
outskirts of Chicago.
So when he got back home to that area, because of the way the legal system was, they didn't do background checks. Nobody knew that he had been
Mhm.
in prison for, sodomy for this young child.
Right.
Nobody knew. So he could just start right over and everybody. Plus, you got to think about it. The tapes of him talking. The reason I think he sounds so much like a jerk is because he no longer has to put on that facade. He doesn't
Yeah.
have to play the game anymore. The mask is off, the clown makeup's gone. He could be whoever he needed to be
Right.
a sociopath, obviously. But then it was like, well, I'm caught. They're going to put me to death. So I don't have to play anymore. I can just be the jerk that I am and I don't have to pretend. So I think that's why he came across as so unlikable because he didn't have to play anymore.
But interestingly, he never pled guilty. Even
No,
though
no.
once we get into the how that all comes out, you're gonna feel so bad for his lawyer who
Well, he did give them all kinds of information where the bodies were. He drew diagrams, but then he took everything back and was like, I didn't do it.
well, he said that he had at one point he says he has an accomplice. There's somebody else who killed them named
Self
Jack.
defense too. Didn't he claim self defense?
Self-defense. He always claims self-defense.
Those
But
dang kids that were handcuffed.
so so he ends up starting they don't in all that I really don't even understand how he sort of integrated into now he's doing construction.
Wasn't it
uh,
landscaping or was it construction?
it was because it was called P EMD or something like that. It was like
Weird. I don't know what it.
painting maintenance, I guess, contractors. So um
Probably like painting fences, maybe fixing little shacks, maybe pool work. Just random.
well, and I think that was the thing was he talked it up like he was doing big projects and he wasn't really so but that's when he started hiring teenage boys to work for and he kind of had a great shtick in even in the business aspect because he could pay them way better. So he was paying $5 an hour, which was like big money,
Oh,
but he
yeah.
was still paying way less than he would have if he had real construction crew. So he kind of had the best of both worlds. Like he was surrounded by teenage boys, which he highly enjoyed, and then he was also saving money because he wasn't paying real construction workers. So um now he but he didn't well, and he always did kind of quite a few of his employees disappeared too, but he seemed to be pretty good at finding kids who at least initially kids who didn't really have a lot of family life to follow up on when they're missing. Although a lot of the families did, but you're right. So now we're at the point where he's learned from his first round that you don't keep them alive. You can't, and you don't have them be anybody. So his first victim was Timothy McCoy, who was 16. And I believe he just happened to pick him up coming out of a bus station. So this poor kid, actually, In So I watched an excellent, it's a reenactment movie that Emily actually recommended to me. And I'm kind of about reenactments because a lot of times they take a lot of liberty.
Yeah, sometimes they're over the top.
All right, this one is really, really accurate. Like,
Mm.
really crazy accurate because I kept Googling things while I was watching it because some stuff seems like they've got to be. Now, granted, conversations between people who weren't there have to
Yeah.
take liberties, but they kind of knew his shtick for like getting people in. But anyway, this poor kid, he was just coming out of the bus station and he had missed his last bus to go home. So he was going home. So he decided he was just going to stay the night and just walk around Chicago. And who did he run into? And that was his first victim, 16 years old. So not great. But then his next victim was actually one of his employees. Um, and he ended up disappearing. He was 17, but they do know that he had been asking for unpaid wages. So maybe there was a little bit of it. But so as we go, you're going to discover that, well, I think we should do the reveal of how many and how it broke down on where they were and whatever. But so he's doing this, he's integrating himself. He remarries, so he's gone back to looking like the family man. That poor woman did not know what she was getting into, and her she had two children of her
Mm.
own. So he
And
um
from what everyone said, including her, he was a great dad. He was very attentive to the kids. He was very good with the kids. They loved him, and I think he just liked to step into that role and kind of be like the dad he didn't have sometimes, and then he could go back to being the creep that he was. But he liked
mhm,
having that made family because it made him look good. It probably made him feel good, made him feel like a man, you know?
mhm, mhm. Well, and it was a cover. It was just
Oh, yeah.
they kept him, you know, nobody's going to guess because he actually also started to really ingratiate himself to the business people around him and politicians again because he always wanted power.
Yeah.
Uh, in the movie, they actually the well, as we'll get into, but he's at a private country club, and somebody says, "Oh, he's the most famous non-member." He wasn't even a member, but he would show up there and just hang out and they'd let him. Like, I don't get it. But anyway, and that's when he started clowning as he because that was part of his volunteer because he did a lot of volunteer type stuff again to ingratiate himself to the community. Um and that's when Pogo the clown, which Vin's gonna try to put up a picture of Pogo because Pogo is terrifying.
He
Uh,
was. And plus, what's crazy is you've seen him. I mean, everyone pretty much knows what he looks like. He was also very smart in the fact that he hired young, strong teenage boys because obviously this man did not get up off of his butt much to actually physically work.
uh-huh.
He was a big guy. He
He
wasn't
was a portly dude.
he was dumpy looking. He was
He,
round. He was very round. He had a great clown face because he was very round. So he had all these boys working for him.
and that put him in his power position.
Oh yeah, because
But
he was big. I mean, so he was strong because he had a lot of weight behind him. These boys had muscle, but they were young, so he could
mm,
overpower them very easily. But they could also, work long hours and do all that physical labor to make him some money on his job. So
right.
he was smart with the choices he picked in that way. He wasn't picking like too little of children. He wanted them obviously to look more like a man. He wasn't, I guess.
He definitely they were predominantly between like 16 and 21.
Yeah,
And
I mean, he wasn't into children. He wanted men, but he wanted men that he can control easy. So he had to pick young men, and they
Well,
all
and
have a similar kind of look to them. In my
he wanted pretty.
Yeah,
He
I was going to say they
definitely
had a
wanted.
similar look. They would be considered pretty boys. They would have been perfect in an 80s hairband, just about all
Right.
of them, especially the last one.
Yeah, I would have had. I won't even lie. I would have had a huge crush on the
I
left.
think
I was
that's
like,
really what got him. He probably saw that pretty boy and thought he could
turn it
not
down.
control that because he
Mm.
was too pretty.
Yep.
And that got him.
And he was playing the game pretty well with picking people that if they went missing, even his employees, which you would have thought that somebody, because a lot of them were. I mean, I actually have a list right here. Let me just try to really one, two, 8 of them were employed by him. Nobody put together that 8 of his employees, but see, he was smart to pick people who he could say they were into drugs. He could say that because he was also painting himself as this guy who's just trying to give him a chance in life, give him a good job, pay him because he paid really well.
Yeah,
And
they were homeless, they were runaways, they were hitchhiking, and he helped them. And then they moved along, is what he would always say, that they had
mm-hmm,
already left.
mm-hmm. So, but again, 8, you would think that would have raised, but see, it didn't because he also really painted drug use and homosexuality. He would put that up as like, because when the Chicago, especially, it was Chicago, a lot of these were never pursued at all. Like they didn't even look for them, or they didn't do anything about it. These, if they were in as we will discover, like some of them were just never even reported missing. So that's like very sad. But you're right. So we're going to get to, so I'm still going to hold off on the amount of his murders because it's just, I want the shock that you get the same shock that the police force got. Because so jump ahead to 1978, winter in Chicago. Well, it's winter, and I don't know if were they into plane. They must have been in Des Plaines because, but anyway, it's a pharmacy. I heard it either called Nissan or Nissan pharmacy. So it's like, picture the pharmacy in 78. It looks like a little, even though it might have been a chain, it looked like a little mom pop type pharmacy. And he was there giving them a quote on redoing some of their shelving. And somehow his name was Robert Peast.
I think so, yeah.
Robert, where are you? He was, I want to say, was he 17?
I think he was 17. I
Yeah.
want to say 17.
And he was working at the pharmacy, and uh I think he overheard Gacy talking about asking the owner of the pharmacy if he knew any young guys who would be wanting a good job, and threw out $5 an hour. So Robert, who was working, going to school, but he was trying to save for a car, heard that and wanted to talk to Gacy. It was his mother's birthday. So his mother was actually there to pick him up.
He was like in the front, and
Yep.
Gacy was in the back.
Yes. And so he went out to talk to Gacy and disappeared.
Now, I watched one thing that I thought was kind of an interesting behind the scenes. Did you ever see the one about the cashier girl talking
Mm.
about what happened? Because she was working where the doors were and it was very cold. And she said that he was really sweet. I think she kind of had a crush on him because he was
Mm.
one of them pretty boys and he was a nice guy. And
Mm.
he loaned her his coat so that she could wear it while she was at the cash register. And she had inadvertently, which came to play later, she had, back in the day when you would take pictures, you would drop off your roll of film and they would give you a little slip. And you would bring that slip back when your film was ready to pick up your film. And she had stuck that in his coat pocket without even thinking about it. And then, because he was working, I guess, in the back stocking shelves or something. And then when he wanted to go out to, he came and said something to his mom, I guess, who would come in, that he wanted to go talk to this guy out back about a job. So he asked the girl if he could have his coat back because he was going to go outside. And she had talked about, I guess, how it smelled nice or something. She just really remembered that and remembered how
Mm.
sweet he was. And he put his coat back on and then he went outside. That's the last time they ever saw him. But
But
that
they do.
little film paper really came in handy later.
Yes, and actually, I almost felt when I did see the same thing, and I almost felt like she did that actually a little intentionally because she had a crush on him to be able to
Yeah.
say, "Hey, do you have my?" It gave her another reason.
Or he might have found it and she thought maybe he'd call her or something.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
think that was
Gacy didn't
it.
realize just because this guy had longer hair, he wasn't one of these runaways. He wasn't a hitchhiker. He had a family he was very close to. He loved his family. He would have never run away. And like you said, it was his mom's birthday. I mean, they already were planning the whole evening. This was like obviously he picked the worst kid at the worst time for what he was wanting to do because
He really did because also
they
that family was not gonna give
no,
up.
they immediately started looking for this boy. The police
Right.
even were like, wait a minute, this is not a runaway. This kid was, something's really wrong here. He just disappeared within, 30 minutes.
But there was
Right.
so much. I mean, it was such a bad choice by John Wayne Gacy because A, he was placed there. I mean, even when he denies it, which he does deny that he was even there, but how can he when he's talking when they just
He
go back
said
and
he did admit later that he did speak to the boy and then he had left or something.
yep. But
The kid went back.
initially he said no,
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, that
And
was so stupid because everyone saw him there. They knew he was there, and the boy came out to speak to him. And
yeah,
I
and
think he just could not control how much he found that boy attractive. And he
mhm,
had, because he was so conceited, so narcissistic, he was going to have whatever he
mhm,
wanted. And
yep.
he took it.
Hmm.
And that was his
And
downfall.
it was his downfall. And that family, I read something that they said also that family showed up, the brother, the sister, all of them showed up at the police station. So that was unusual too. Like that the whole family's there saying
Yeah.
this is not normal. And um so the police do take him finally do take this report seriously because other things were not taken seriously.
Well, plus the fact that he was literally working at the pharmacy is just like you just took an employee and he disappears. Obviously, he didn't clock out. He wasn't ready to leave yet. He was just going to step outside real quick to speak to this man before he
Mm-hmm.
left. And all of a sudden, the employee's gone. That was
Mm-hmm.
that was dumb. That was so
It
dumb.
was. It was. And um so the police do take it seriously. Seriously enough that they decide well, first of all, one another thing happens. They don't like John. They go to talk to John and they feel like because he takes his time coming in to give them a statement about where he was. Like he comes in the next day because he claims there's a death in his family and he sort of just shows up. But the and his name was Kosik, Kosik detective, or maybe he was a lieutenant because there is Detective Tovar who also got involved at one point, but he doesn't like his vibe. He thinks he's arrogant. He thinks he that Gacy's arrogant. He's fishy. He's obviously lying. So he does. It might be Tovar though who researched and found finally somebody finds the sodomy charge. So
Yeah,
right,
that was like red flag, red flag.
right, like okay, so um, and they do talk to him about that. They do go to him, and he claims that this teenage boy was blackmailing him. That it never happened. They don't buy that, of course. So they start tailing him 24 hours a day. They're watching him, and Gacy is rattled, but at the same time so cocky he's enjoying it.
Oh yeah, I mean he was just like going up to them and like, "Hey, how you doing?" He knew their names. He actually bought them something to drink. They followed him into like a bar or something. I mean,
Uh-huh.
he invited them into his house several times. I mean, he
Well,
was
and
just so
arrogant.
arrogant. Now
Yeah.
him and his wife were divorced. When did they get divorced? I don't remember.
Yeah, because he was single at that time. He was
Yeah,
living alone.
I don't
Uh,
remember when he got divorced the second time.
no, and I don't know. I don't. They don't really. Nothing that I watched, even that uh, reenactment movie, or didn't really go into. They go into that he's not great. Like he's not a great husband to her. Um,
I
at one
think he just kept, I don't know, he was just really distancing himself and just he was so obsessed with his newfound fun. He
point.
was changing a lot in her
Hmm.
mind and she was just
Hmm.
with it, I think, and left.
Yeah, because actually, when they were first married, that's when he was sort of building his, like, he could be excited about building his family life because they were having those huge parties. He would host those
Oh yeah, the
parties,
neighbors.
all kinds of, like, and there was like, they dressed up like
Oh
uh
yeah, they had like a,
colonial times or
yeah, they
whatever.
had these weird masquerade parties and stuff.
Yeah, like he was, well, he was always into dressing up. We know that. And actually, and take this for what it's worth, he actually, one of the things his father was really angry with him about when he was young was that he was taking his mother's clothes.
What
So,
did his sister discover some clothes in his bed? She'd made his bed or something. She'd like, I thought it was him.
yeah, that sounds right. Because he was definitely, um,
She wanted to know why her mother's underwear or something was in his
and
bed.
he claimed that he liked the feel of it.
That's what his mother told his sister, and to not say anything to his dad because he would go
Yeah,
off.
because actually his mother really kind of babied him right up through everything. Like I don't think she ever really believed. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know
I
how
think
you
she
would have.
saw him as being effeminate and didn't see a problem with it. And
Right,
was
right.
upset that the
Well,
dad was being so mean about it. So she
and she
tried to,
was right about that.
yeah. I mean, there
But
wasn't anything wrong, but he was getting these weird fetishes and
yeah, and
she,
then she was sort of babying him a lot.
yeah,
So
very mommy's boy.
yeah, so in fact, that was one of his things when he does go to prison the next time that he has to get out because his mom needs him. I'm like, I don't think that stands, and I don't think they let you do that, but okay. But so they're tailing him like 24/7. He's enjoying it, but he's also freaking out.
Yeah.
He's acting cool, but he's freaking out and he's taking a lot of Valium and he's drinking a lot. In this time of being tailed, he reaches out to this poor man who was a lawyer who just started his own practice. And the reason that he contacted him was he knew him because he had placed a bid on doing his child's nursery, which the guy did not go with. And I guess that's the only person Gacy could think of to contact. Well, that guy should have never answered the phone. So this guy, and I should know his name too, and that's terrible because it's rather important. Let me get because this guy stuck by him. I don't know how he did it. I really don't know how he did it. I mean, he believed in everybody deserves a fair trial, but I honestly don't know how he.
Well, I mean, legally, everyone is supposed to be allowed a representative to, to protect their rights, but at the same time, he obviously was guilty. So, what do you do?
Well, and we'll get into how even his lawyer knows
Yeah,
the
his
his
lawyer did the best he could to.
his lawyer did the absolute best he could. Um, so he tells him initially that he's being tailed by the police, and so this is driving me crazy. I'm sorry. Poor lawyer. So Gacy is that, but he tells him he has a case for harassment, and they're gonna file that the police are harassing him because he's claiming, of course, that he knows nothing about Robert Peace and he doesn't know why they're following him. And I think before they can get the harassment charge in, he shows up drunk and on Valium at his lawyer's and just tells everything. He just tells everything that he has done between 1974 and
Isn't
1970.
he there for like hours just
They're all night.
spilling his guts to this
Yes.
poor lawyer?
Who was traumatized. He said it was the most traumatizing night because he was just telling it all.
Yeah, and legally he can't tell anyone, but he
Well,
can, you know.
well, and meanwhile, oh, and we missed this. They actually did get a search warrant right away for his house, but they didn't find anything. And they found lots of like sex toys and handcuffs,
Movie,
video,
the films, and
and weird books. I can't think of the titles, but
oh yeah, there was, what was those books? It was some.
wasn't one like Pretty Boys Must Die or
That's
something?
it. That's the name of it. It was like, I don't know if it was a, was it a magazine series or a book series, but yeah, that's what it was called. It was called Pretty Boys Must Die. Maybe
Yeah,
that's why he was so obsessed with that, the last boy that he got, because he was a pretty boy.
he was a pretty boy. And but so he spills everything. So the lawyer actually goes down because the police are still tailing. They're sitting outside his office because I guess he went to his office. So he goes out and he tells them if Gacy tries to leave, shoot out his tires. He doesn't tell them why, but he's like,
He lets them understand
yeah,
that he's guilty as crap, and I can't tell you why, but don't let him go.
right. But they do let him go. And John Wayne Gacy gets up and acts like he's just going to go to work. I don't think he even remembers everything. He was so out of it. He had no idea what he was sharing. But he leaves. And at this point, they know they have to try for a second search warrant because they're like, if his lawyer is telling you to shoot out his tires, he knows some stuff. And so, but they don't actually, I don't think they got a warrant. I think they were in the process again of getting a warrant. And I'm sorry, no, right before he confesses everything, I think it's one of his invitations in.
Yeah, they invited him in. He invited them in
For
for
dinner.
something to eat.
And that the one, I think it's Albrecht was his name, the officer, goes to use his bathroom and
The
smells,
heat kicked on.
and
And
he
he's
smells
like,
decay.
what is that smell? And then they were like, okay, we need to check the crawl space.
Well, he even said, you don't work as a cop in Chicago and not smell dead body.
Yeah,
So,
he knew
anyway,
that smell.
yeah. So they get another search warrant. They go down and they find a body.
The first shovel full, there's a body. And
So, so he's arrested. He's still claiming he's innocent. I think he's claiming self-defense. I don't even know how he knows which one they found. I do know that one of them was very heartbreaking. It was John Zyke. I don't know. It's SZYC, and he still had his ID bracelet on his wrist, so they knew who he was. But these police are shocked. Like, okay, they expected to find Robert Peace decaying down there. They did not expect to find old.
now, when did they find all the stuff? Because I know he had like, the boy that, one of the boys that worked for him, he was helping him. He had asked him to help him clean out his garage, and he found a box, and it was filled with
Oh
identification,
yeah, they got.
wallets, jewelry, rings, and he saw an ID of someone that looked a lot like him because the kid wasn't old enough to drink it, and he asked John Wayne Gacy if he could borrow it so he could go drinking, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
Well, and they found that because one of them they identified by the high school ring because he
Yeah,
was saving mementos. He had a high school ring that was JAS, which might have been Johnny Zick. Maybe that was him because there was one that they definitely found. I want to say he was one of his younger ones though, because one of them was like 15 or 14. Oh, it was probably Samuel Stapleton. That's who it was. He was 14. Um, but so now they're like, okay, we expected to find Robert Peace,
yeah, but
but
who is
we're
this?
finding who are these people? And they keep digging. And we'll give you the breakdown. By the time they're done, they find 29 bodies in the basement in the crawl space. It wasn't even a big crawl. I mean, he was
Yeah,
doing
it's
some
just
serious work to get them.
well, he would hire the boys to go under there and dig trenches, and he would tell them that he was having septic trouble, and he would have them dig a trench and put down lime, and then I guess he really thought that was great that he had someone else doing his hard work because in his physical shape he certainly couldn't have gotten into the crawl space to dig a hole, so he had these little thin young men, down there digging holes in us, and they would say how bad it smelled, but he would say it was sewer.
Well, and he'd get mad at them if they didn't dig exactly where they
Yeah,
were
they
told
said it
to
was real
dig
specific.
because, well, now we know why. You could happen upon someone. But there was 29. I can't believe I was so happy with myself for getting the breakdown
Now,
each and
when did
every.
he draw them a map? Because I know they said that when he finally told them everybody, because he just acted like he was just bragging. They gave him a piece of paper and he drew a perfect map of the crawl space, exactly where all the bodies were. And there was at least, I think there was one in the yard. I don't know if there was one in the garage floor. I know there was one in the yard. And
Mm.
then they found, what was it, two or three that, because he ran out of room, so he threw them in the river.
Well, there was three in the river. I know that. So they found three in the river. They found 29
Well, I
in.
know they found one in the yard, they said.
I think there were three in the yard too,
Were they three
or
in the yard?
five, three or five. But all told, looking for Robert Peace, they found 33 bodies.
And no Robert.
Well, and Robert ended up being in the Des Plaines River.
And he would not tell them where that boy was. Wasn't he like one of the last ones they found? He refused to tell them because he knew that family, that was, I think he didn't want to tell them because that was the one that got him caught. And I
Mm-hmm.
think to him, that was his last bit of control by not telling them where he was. He was just like, well,
Well, and so yeah, and they didn't find him till spring thaw. He ended up they had to wait. So yeah. And there were a couple more who end up testifying because he did randomly, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. I think there were five that he let survive even after the Voorhees kid, because one of them did testify what happened to him, and uh, he was pretty brave because he had to sort of go in and tell that because he was a genuine
now
bisexual.
that was that the kid that had been a wrestler at the time? I remember watching
No,
him
no,
because he testified.
I think his name was like Randall Rignell, who was the one who testified. But the one that got to me, and this is when I was watching the movie, the dramatization. I had to Google because there was one Billy, and Billy was a car thief, and he was just like a petty criminal thief. I don't know if he broke into houses or whatever, but he ended up meeting this girl who he really fell in love with. And he was trying to call it off with her because he really cared about her. And he's like, I'm a criminal. And she said to him, so stop being a criminal. If you love me so much, get a real job and let's make a life. And the first person he interviewed with was John Wayne Gacy. And he had actually called her and said, I have an interview. It pays really well. It's construction. This is great. She's super excited. She waited. He never returned. And when they go to trial, she had just been hit by a drunk driver. So she had a broken back. She had something, her neck was all messed up. She had broken ribs. And they tried to talk her out of, she was going to be a key witness to say that he definitely interviewed, on this date and when he went missing and da da da. And they came and said, you can't. How are you going to come to court? They wheeled her in a hospital bed because she said Billy had no one there for him. He had no family, and she was going to tell her story. And I was like, that's mind blowing. But that was true. And I actually saw the live footage of them bringing her in to testify. But
now, what was the guy? I watched him talking. I can't remember his name. He said that he was in high school, I believe. He had been a wrestler, and for some reason, I don't know if I guess he went back to Gacy or something. And that's when he tried to do the handcuff trick. So he's like, let me show you the handcuff trick. So he would handcuff himself, and then he would show that he couldn't get out of it. Then he would turn around because he had the key. He would unlock himself, and then he would turn back around and be like, ta-da. And he's like, well, let me just show you the trick. And he would literally have the boys handcuff themselves. And then he would tell them, well, I'll show you how to get out of handcuffs. So he would put, this is what he would do. This is not what he did with the wrestler. What he would do is he would have them handcuff themselves. And then he would say, well, the trick is you have to have the key. But with this boy, he knew that this boy had been home for something. I don't know. He went over to Gacy's house, and because he had been a wrestler, or he was a wrestler, Gacy was trying to play around with them and kind of do some wrestling moves. And then all of a sudden the boy said that he felt a handcuff lock onto his wrist. And he was like, oh, he said, luckily he didn't panic, but he was like, what is this? So he ended up flipping Gacy, got Gacy on the floor, got the key from him, unlocked the handcuff, and handcuffed Gacy. And Gacy was like, oh my God. And Gacy told him, you're the first person that's ever turned the tables on me and was able to handcuff me. And he left them there for a little while, and then he finally, unlocked the handcuffs, and then he left. I don't know if he worked for Gacy or what the situation was, but I know that.
I can't think of his name, but I remember that one too. Yeah, he was one who, and I believe he testified, right?
Yeah, he said that he testified and that he thinks they might have made eye contact a little bit, but he's not really sure. But he said that he thinks the reason he survived was because he didn't panic. He just instinctively went into the wrestler mode and just played it out and then got out of that situation. Because if he had known what kind of crazy Gacy was, he might have freaked out and ended up another victim.
Right. And the theory too is that, well, they know with Robert Peace that he convinced him, he told him, you're hired, but I have to get the paperwork, and brought him to his house and then did the handcuff trick. And also, this is a kid who's super excited that he just talked to this guy and got a job right away. And so he's sort of, and that was definitely a dramatization that we don't know how it exactly went, but he was tolerating it. He was antsy, which I think is probably pretty accurate because his mother was waiting for him. Yeah. And his mother, it was a birthday. They were going to a dinner. So I'm sure.
He probably just figured, well, this sounds fun. Let's just do this trick real quick, and then I can hurry up and get back home. Since the guy's going to give me a job, I got to entertain him a little bit, pacify him a minute, not realizing.
That was it. Yep. So anyway, the trial, they try to go for insanity. And that's when he starts saying that he had essentially multiple personalities, because he would say that there was family man John, there was businessman John, there was clown John, and then there was Jack Hanley. So he's trying to claim that when he would actually kill these boys, because I actually took a little offense to them saying men, because these were boys. I mean, were your older boys, but they were boys. That he that was Jack. And then he even went further as he got further into, because he did, again, that lawyer, I don't know whether he was equally as insane or he just believed in this, like believed in our legal system, but he did 20 appeals for Gacy, because Gacy was found guilty of 33 counts of murder.
Well, maybe he figured he knew that he was going to be found guilty, but this was his job and it was his duty to, go through all the appeals and then just go ahead and maybe he was hoping to get through them quickly so he can go ahead and let this guy be killed.
Right, because he did get the death penalty.
And one thing people might not know is, because I'm sure a lot of people wonder, well, how was he killing them? Because he wasn't shooting them, or he was using a garrote. He was putting the thing around the neck, and then you could take a string and even take something like a stick or a pencil and then just start twisting it. And that's how he was killing them. He was strangling them with a garrote. So even that, he wasn't even exerting himself. I mean, everything about what he did was a trick. He was just a con man. He was a clown. He didn't exert himself with his job. He didn't exert himself when he kidnapped these people. Everything he did required very little effort, except here.
Right.
It doesn't take much to just twist a stick on a piece of string or whatever.
But he was completely, and I guess he was confusing. Like, I think he thought he was very charismatic, very clever, a great manipulator. He was a great manipulator, but he was manipulating people with not his amazingness, or not even his brain. It was that he was offering them things that he was never gonna, he was
a con man, and he was manipulating people that had nothing else.
Right. Like, it's not that hard to manipulate somebody who's desperate, or
I mean, if a kid has run away and he needs money and he's hungry, and you say, hey, I'll give you a room to stay in, I'll give you $5 an hour if you work for me, what kid's not going to do that? Because they're going to think, oh, this is safe, this is a safe place, and they're going to trust. And that's all he did. He would just manipulate people that were so easy to manipulate because they had no other options, and he offered them everything and gave them nothing, basically.
Nothing. I mean, he had a few, he had to keep you up. And but he did get charged. I don't have the prison, but he did get charged on December 22nd, 1978 for multiple counts of murder. I don't know when the trial. I know that his lawyer did keep him from going to trial for a bit of time too, but eventually.
Well, I know they did psychological evaluations. I mean, I think too, the lawyer probably made sure that he dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's so that he could not get out of this. He couldn't say, you weren't a good lawyer, you didn't do everything you were supposed to do. So he did everything he was supposed to do, knowing doesn't matter. He's not going to get out. Let's go ahead and give him the psychological evaluation. Let's go ahead and give him all these appeals, because it doesn't matter. At least he can't say I didn't represent him.
Right.
Fullest extent of the law. So,
well, and he didn't really help his lawyer at all, because he would not go with the insanity. He was not going to be seen as insane. He did not ever plead guilty, even though he admitted, he just would not plead guilty. He kept sort of being completely self-defeating, because at one point the lawyer is trying to convince him, if you say because he did get insanity. Like they're like, yeah, and he even had some multiple person. They were willing to buy into this. Jack Hanley was the multiple personality that did the killing. He wouldn't do it because that was not manly enough. He
No.
wasn't going to be seen as insane. It was self defense. He had to do what he had to do. I mean,
It's so funny though, ironically, that his ego was so huge that he wouldn't even take a plea. I mean, he wouldn't do anything to minimize himself and in his mind, in his, he just was not going to admit that he was a horrible person and he had done
mm,
bad, bad things to kids. He was
mm,
not gonna admit it.
no. And um, so he was executed. And I think I gave you the execution date, but I've already forgotten.
I don't
Everybody
remember
jump
when that
in.
was.
I know that when he was executed, it was like 16 years after
It was in
he,
the 80s, right?
yeah, and he took 18 minutes to die. So he had a little bit of an excruciating. He did get lethal injection, but apparently the lines blocked or something, the tubing blocked, but I don't think it was a very pleasant experience.
And his
So
final words were, "Kiss my ass."
yeah, that's a man who never regretted a thing. I still find it fascinating that he could never even just say he was like I bisexual to me was like you don't even understand what you're saying. He's saying that it's just sex for sex, it doesn't matter, versus you are like and can be in love with either. It was nothing about love. Nothing was ever about like it was just you have sex with because you like to with anyone. And I'm like, this is he's just and he was arrogant to the very end and thought he was so clever. He
You know,
really
ironically, I don't remember a lot about the whole incident when I was younger, but I do remember the something I saw on the news as an older teenager. I don't remember how old I was, but I was still living at my parents' house when everybody came out to celebrate and waited for him to be put to death because people were dressed as clowns. They were holding signs, they were cheering, they were all outside the area where he was going to be killed. And then, of course, there was just a big hoopla when it happened. They were so excited because they wanted him dead. There was just, there
Mhm.
was a big party about it.
Mhm. Well, and the interesting thing is the families were not allowed to
Really?
see. So none of the family members were at the execution. Now, in the movie, that's the one thing that Emily actually looked up. They made it seem like they put them in like this waiting area and never came and got them. Uh, no, they actually were told that they could not attend because of witness some. It was some crazy, and I'm like, I didn't realize that was because I always thought families were allowed to.
Yeah,
So
I
they
thought they could.
And there is some debate. Like some of them felt like it didn't really matter. It wasn't going to give them closure either
Yeah.
way. Others felt like they just had the right to see him go. But yeah, meanwhile, one of the other things that was an interesting, he was a painter, not very good painter. Um
Yeah, that's why it was so funny because there was this woman, I guess he had reached out to them and she thought it was basically because of, I guess, I don't know if it was about appeals or something like that. And she's like, everybody knew he's not going to get his appeals because it's John Wayne Gacy. And then she said, but it was also about him trying to fight wanting to keep the money from his paintings. But it was so funny because she said he was a painter. He was a terrible painter. He painted terrible things, and yet he could sell them at $200 a pop, and they were awful. So it's
yeah,
like,
you painted clowns, of
yeah, he
course.
painted really awful, creepy clowns, and people wanted that. The people that are into the serial killer nostalgia. I'm not going to say anything against that because I actually do have some stuff. I don't have a John
I
Wayne.
was gonna say you have a John Wayne Gacy.
I don't, but I do have some buttons of different serial killers, and I'm quite
Really?
fond of. Yeah, I made them myself. I have a button maker. I've got Ed Gein. I've got.
You sent me the Jeffrey Dahmer one. I have a
Do you want a Jeffrey Dahmer one? I'll send you
no.
some.
You sent me one.
Oh, that's right. I did
Yeah.
send you a Jeffrey Dahmer. Yeah, I've got all. I don't wear
Well,
them, but I'm just like,
but
there's
they're
a
not actually also from them.
no, no, no.
They're your own, you know,
Yeah,
dark
they're just
humor.
images of them, but I'm not interested in. I don't need memorabilia from John Wayne
Right.
Gacy and his awful paintings. I'm not interested. Doesn't do much for me
No, well, and
because they passed
yes,
that law when he was doing that to try to stop him from making money because they wanted to take that money and try to give it to the families of the people that he had killed, and he was trying to fight that. So that's really why
yeah,
he,
he never felt any.
he didn't care. He just wanted money so he could buy junk food in prison,
Well,
whatever.
at one of the tapes, he's talking about how stressed he is, and he's stress eating, and I'm like, who cares? Like, yeah, but yeah, and I mean, if anybody gets a chance, it that uh reenactment movie was called Devil in Disguise. It was on Peacock, I believe, is where I watched it, and
It's
it
on
was
YouTube because I started to watch that and then I realized it was a reenactment and I was like, well, I really wanted to make sure to. I wanted to try to like remember some of the stuff I knew was actually factual and I didn't know about this one, so that's why I didn't watch it. But it is on YouTube. I remember seeing that.
I highly recommend it because it did turn out to be really accurate, but also I really like that every episode is about certain actual victims. So you get some insight into who they really were because it tends to get lost in all the horrible things
I
he did.
wish they would do that about BTK because his victims had lives too. They had families, they were people, and yet you never hear about those
You
women.
never
You
do. You're
just
right.
hear about the horrible atrocities that he put them through, and you hear about him and his family and his kids, but you never hear about those women. So I would love to for somebody to actually do it like that where you could actually get to know who they were. Now they did do that with the Night Stalker, I believe. They've got quite a few things, like it's not reenactment, but it's like real family members talking about his different victims and who they were as people and what kind of lives they led. So I think
Yeah,
it'd be important to do that.
it was really, really interesting. And I can't recommend that one enough. And it actually goes right into, at least on Peacock, it went right into Devil in Disguise, but it's him really talking. It was interviews with him. So you actually, I think it is still part of that same series because I think they were trying to make sure you knew that what they put in that movie was, you know, a lot of his own words. And so anyway, the casting was fantastic. I mean, the guy they got for John Wayne Gacy, feel bad for the poor guy that he has to go through life looking like John Wayne Gacy. But
Well, plus listening to John Wayne Gacy, at least with Ted Bundy, he would like lean in and whisper, all his, he at least was more theatrical, when you listen to Ted Bundy's tapes and his interviews, it's more interesting. And Gacy was just like, really?
he just sounds very Midwestern and very, like I said, loved a cliche, like he doesn't come across as clever or funny.
Well,
Because
look at the name of his business. If he couldn't come up with something better than that, and then Pogo, what was it you were telling me? Why he named himself Pogo?
because he was Polish and he was always on the go. Because again, he was a businessman. That's very key to everything.
Now, a lot of I was watching some interviews with some of the young men that had worked for him, and they were saying that, like you said, that he was always bragging about how much money he had and what a great businessman he was, and all about his business and how much money his business made. And he was just such a braggart all the time. But then he would invite them back to his house and he would have these big parties. and he would furnish everything. He would furnish marijuana, he would furnish the drinks, he was having the stag films, and I think he had, I don't know if he had a pool table or what it was, but he had some games and stuff. So, he appeared to be very successful and well off. So, even though he bragged a lot, the younger kids believed it, because
Hmm.
here he showed it to them. But I don't know what his real finances were. I don't know if that was
I
anything
don't
about.
really, I don't understand that one either because the house itself was not very nice.
It wasn't a great house. I mean, it was like lower middle class, and it
And it
wasn't.
was creepy decorated.
Yeah,
Like,
it was not kept up well at all. I mean, there were dead bodies buried in it,
yeah.
but
But
still.
it was also like not a cool, like for somebody who's supposedly doing painting
Yeah, it was
or
dark and just, I don't know. It was creepy. It was just dingy. That's what it reminded. It was just it just looked dingy, dark and dingy.
the other thing too is he really was on a better path when he was married to the first wife. I mean, he really threw everything away for a really stupid move with very good acquaintance's teenage son because he actually was a real business owner. He probably was doing really well with the Kentucky Fried Chicken. He was in the JCs. He
Yeah,
was
he was
into
really well
politics.
known. And well, I know that he gave that kid alcohol, and maybe he was stupid enough to think that the kid was going to get, so tipsy that he would also be interested in such a thing and wouldn't say anything because he would be too embarrassed. And yet it was not consensual. And the kid, of course, was horrified and went and told his dad. So it did not turn out because he's not that smart of a guy. It did not
He
turn out
really was.
for him.
He really wasn't.
No.
Um, but interestingly, and we'll have to do BTK at some point, but
Yeah,
BTK
we need to
was
do.
not smart either. Like
He was dumb. Well, especially at the end there, he was so
100%. But yeah,
dumb.
so I think you're 100% right about Gacy though. He saw something he had to have and he couldn't control himself and it was his downfall and you know it's just heartbreaking that that kid just wrong place, wrong time. And yeah, and to go back, we didn't even bring up, but when they searched his house the first time, they did find the photo slip.
Yeah, they found his. Didn't they
Yeah.
find his coat, or did they just find a photo slip? I can't
Just the
remember.
photo slip, but they knew that he had to have been in the house given that story, but they just couldn't do anything because they couldn't find him. So they knew that he had been there at some point. And that was really interesting that and of course back then no DNA, no like forensics. So they were really piecing things together and thankfully they took him seriously. But I do wonder if this conversation was real because that Kozak or whatever the one in who with Robert Peace, he contacted the police in Chicago
Mhm.
and he said we arrested this man in a week and you guys had 4 years in Chicago. And I thought it was interesting because the sergeant or whatever, or the detective in Chicago said, yeah, but what if the kid had been a runaway drug using kid turning tricks on the street? Would you have followed up then? So, and in the movie, he just sits there quiet because the truth is, which we know in this, especially, and we've already gone through it with Johnny Gosh and if there was any way that they thought that the kid was a runaway or the kid was hooking up with drugs and whatever, they weren't pursuing it. They weren't even going for 72 hours. So really, Robert Peace was an unusual that they acted as quickly. Of
Well,
course,
he got so cocky because he got away with so many, and he thought he could just pick whatever he wanted, and he just could not turn that one down.
yeah,
Just could not.
and unfortunately, you know, like I said, I those pictures of Robert P. would have been right up my alley for my crushes. Even at I would have been all of 8 years old, but I can imagine if I would have been like, oh, the hair, the like, you know. But anyway, so what does everybody else remember about this? Do you remember John Wayne Gacy? Do you remember? Because I, like you said, I don't really remember. We were just young enough, I think, that I wasn't following that on the news.
Yeah, we didn't pay attention to the serial killer stuff back then. But like I said, I do remember when he was being put to death, this celebration. Because I
I
was just like surprised, like, why are all these people out here dressed like clowns holding signs and cheering that someone's going to be dead? You know, I didn't
Mhm.
understand it. And it was like, whoa, they really want this guy dead.
Mhm. Well, and I mean, the first serial killer that I really remember knowing anything about was probably Ted Bundy. I do think I had some memory of, but actually, you know who? More than that, it might have been Summer of Sam. I think because of the dog twist. We'll get into that one at some point. That's a pretty interesting one too. But anyway, yeah, so this is John Wayne Gacy, 33 young men. And honestly, they feel like it's a lot higher.
Probably, yeah, because who knows? And who knows what he was doing without killing kids before that. I mean, who knows what he got away with? I mean, we just don't know. And of course, he never admitted to it.
You know,
But
you almost feel like he had to have been getting away with it because he kind of did the same thing with the Voorhees teenager because that was right in his own backyard. He
yeah,
let him live and he still thought he was going to get away with it. How many had he done before that that
yeah.
he had gotten away with? I mean, but yeah, and that was one of Tovar, who was very well cast in this movie. That was his driving force, was trying to get him to tell the actual number, and of course he never did because that was a power play,
Yeah.
looking for power, and he loved that.
And see, that's one of the things that has kept, you know, over history, it's kept the law enforcement from understanding, accepting, and admitting that they're serial killers. Because a lot of serial killers, depending on what their niche is, they will pick people that are not going to be looked into. A lot of times it's prostitutes. A lot of times it's homeless people. A lot of times it's minorities. And
Mhm.
it's just there may be something about that person. Maybe they fell on hard times. Maybe they have an addiction. So the police are just not looking at it like it's important. This young man happened to belong to a white middle class, probably upper middle class from the looks of it, family. So to them, it's just like this is a respectable family. So they put a higher price on this boy's life than they do someone else's, which is ridiculous. I mean, everyone should be treated the same as far as how much is their life worth, but the police don't do that. They've never
Mhm.
done that. They look at people as throwaways. And
Well,
so
they're
they,
still doing that. I mean, we were
oh yeah, they don't connect it. They just don't care. They're just like, oh, that was a prostitute, or oh, that was someone on drugs, or oh, they probably, you know, were put them they put the blame on the victim, like because that victim had an addiction, or because that victim was homeless or in a bad area. They just automatically brush it aside as if it's not that important, you know.
and
It's
it
just
is it's frustrating to see that that actually is still happening because I was thinking about if anybody remembers recently the Gabby Petito case.
oh yeah.
And it's like, but that got tons of airtime. And you think about all the people who are missing. We know it was because she was a young white.
Pretty white girl with blonde hair.
Yep. And it's like then she got all that airtime and other people just never nobody even knows. So it's terrible. Um and he really did. He just couldn't keep up the like well, he was lazy. You nailed it. He was lazy on every level. He was lazy in how he killed, he was lazy in how he worked, and he was lazy in I feel like it became too much work to look for the kids who
Well, I mean, he was almost like a fly trap. He didn't work to get these people. He would drive around and see a hitchhiker and be like, "Oh, that's my type. Hey, you want to ride?" This boy, the last one, approached him looking for a job. They came to him. He
Hmm.
made himself available. He was a fly trap and they were his flies. And he didn't
Hmm.
have to hardly lift a finger to get them because he made himself look like such a great, this is a good job. This is a businessman, let me pay you good and you work for me and I'll buy you beer and pot and we'll hang out and it'll be great. And they were like, how can you beat that? That's great. If
Hmm.
it's too good to be true, it usually is.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. Well, folks, this is John Wayne Gacy. I really want to hear what you guys remember about him.
Do you remember the killer clown? Do you remember on TV when they were showing the police bringing out body after body after body?
Which
I
was,
don't. I just remember seeing it later, but it was, late 70s.
yeah, like I said, I was only about 8 years old when, so I don't even, and I do wonder, I would love to hear how much was that shown on like national news. I'm sure it was
They said that it was like national, or well, actually, it was like even in other countries. It was so huge, you
Mhm.
know.
Right,
So
right. And do you have any we're always looking for like, do you have any stories of people missing, that people wondered what, because we are going to go into next week the statistics of what really was what Stranger Danger really was, because they really ramped it up for sure. But um we'd love to hear what you got to say. This one's pretty heavy case, not even pretty heavy, very heavy. All these poor lost people, who these kids who no one will ever know what their potential could have been. Nobody will ever know.
how many
um,
did you say were not identified? I think they identified most of them, but there were still how many?
Three. As of right now,
Three.
there's still three. There were five initially that they could not identify. So they really only got two on DNA, and that's relatively recently. Um, which is really sad that three. And they buried them in graves that, just because obviously they have nothing. So it just says, we'll never forget, is all their
Yeah,
tombstone
so let
says.
us know if you guys like live next to John Wayne Gacy.
Did John Wayne Gacy come and paint your house?
Did he come to your kid's birthday party? Did he come to your birthday party? That's what I want. I want to know somebody that their parents hired him to come to their birthday party and entertain. Or maybe, well, since he would do like hospitals or whatever. Did you ever see that creepy clown? I want to know.
And to be fair, I'm sure he actually had more impact on it than maybe the non-proven 1981
The
clown
clown
attacks.
scare that didn't really happen. Probably he was the cause of it.
He probably was. But that is it for us. Thank you again for being patient with us. A crazy, crazy work week. Hopefully, I say this every time, but I'm hoping we're through most of the events. We had like back to back Mother's Day, Father's Day, uh, 4th of July. Plus, we have special events every year for the different. So we had Cottage Week, which is our memory care. So it's just been back to back stuff going on. So
We'll be
hopefully
back
now
on
the
track.
rest of the summer, I will give you a heads up, and we'll let you know I am going to Maine for a week. So I will coordinate that. So hopefully everything's ready to go so we don't miss a week. Um,
Well, wait, I'll
and
make sure to get everything to you so you can get it scheduled ahead of time so you don't have to.
that would be great, just because also, well, actually I'm not going to be at my camp. When I'm at my camp, by the way, for everyone in Maine, we call a summer cottage a camp. So it's not like I'm going to,
Camp.
scout camp or whatever, Girl
Now,
Scout camp.
when are you going? What month are you going?
I'm going in August, the 11th to the 7th, 18th, 11th to the 18th. So, at my camp, internet is really dicey still. So, and also actually cell service is really
Oh, I
bad. So I
bet.
don't
I
even know
bet.
if I could record up there. So, although we could tell some really great spooky,
Ooh, sit on the
campfire
porch and
stories, but
use a lot of mosquito spray and sit on the porch. I remember Maine a lot.
yeah,
The black
actually,
flies and the mosquitoes.
black flies. Oh
Oh
my
my
gosh.
God. If you guys have never been bit by one, they hurt. They
They,
hurt.
they hurt and they itch forever.
Oh my
They
God.
welt up and
They are so bad.
it's really bad. Um, but we will be more organized and I will definitely make sure that we that I get stuff done and up and ready to go before I leave. Um, and like I said, next week we're gonna do the real statistics of what stranger danger had us all convinced that we went from nobody paid attention to what we were doing to we are going to be abducted at any given moment. So what were the
Anywhere,
real chances?
anytime.
Anytime. Yep, exactly. There were white vans, black vans, clowns. It was
Just
all just
aliens just grabbing us and
alien. Well, there was only that one person who thought the aliens.
we should
That one
do
I
one
didn't
on
worry
we
about.
should do one on alien abductions.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
know I'm
wonder
all
when
in.
Travis Walton. Remember that one, the Travis Walton abduction? They were the Oh, do you hear the thunder here? We're having
Mm,
it's actually shaking my walls.
oh man. I can't hear anything because my neighbor upstairs is shaking my walls because they
Oh
just moved
no.
in.
Oh no.
They're moving furniture.
But yeah, well, alien. If you guys let us know if you want aliens, because
We got serial killers, we got aliens. Subscribe, like, share with your friends. We got everything.
we've got everything here, and we get to tell you. So far, we've pretty much gotten to tell you. Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't know what we were doing when we were young. All this chaos was going on, and we're like, I don't know. I didn't
We were
remember.
outside on our bikes or climbing trees or in the big wheel and, just riding around town waiting to get kidnapped.
That's the thing. You know what's really funny is that's probably a lot of truth. We didn't have social media. We weren't watching it. If you didn't watch the nightly news, which I never did because it didn't interest
It was
me.
boring as a kid. Nobody wants to see that. As
Right.
soon as
And
that nightly
so
news song music would come on, all the kids would leave.
right. Well, and if your dad was like my dad, you weren't allowed to talk during the news either.
Exactly.
So it's like, well, I'm just gonna go away now because but you know, we're proof that really horrific things were going on, but we really had sort of idyllic lives of not knowing what was happening in the world. The kids were probably actually happier in most cases.
Ignorance is bliss. It really
It
is.
really is. Sorry,
We were
I'm
not afraid of anything back then, much of anything. I mean, some of us had some weird fears, but most of us, we weren't afraid. We were just like, oh, is that an electric fence? Let me see what that feels like. I have done that.
oh no.
It's
There
fun.
you go. There's a story. Well, there's an episode. How many of you have touched electric
What
fences?
weird things have you done that you were told not to do? We'll get to that another day.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm thinking there were a few things that I knew I shouldn't have done, and
We really should do one like that. I'm sure I could come up with a lot.
yep. I'm sure we'd get people telling. So yeah, so we still want to hear from everybody. We're organizing our stories, getting ready. Probably won't do a listener tale until maybe the end of the month.
Please email us. If you put it
Yes.
in the comments, everyone's already read it, so we can't use it in the video. So we need you to privately email it to us so we can hide it. And then we can be like, ta-da, look at this.
We can
Don't
share
tell
it
it.
and
Don't tell it now.
yeah, don't
Wait.
tell it now.
Just tell it to us, and then we'll tell it to the people.
That's right. We'll tell it to the world.
We'll let the world know your story.
And we are working on Substack. I'm really stinking at Substack. If anybody out there knows how to use Substack, well, I could use some pointers. And we do want to have the book club. You know what? I think we probably should be really realistic and say maybe we'll start the book club in spooky season, since we're gonna we're gonna read spooky stuff, so that would be a nice time.
Good
And
idea.
actually everybody's busy in the summer and whatever, so when we get back to the fall weather and you want to
Yeah.
curl up with a book, and so let's plan for that, and I'll get organized. Maybe I'll even make a little calendar, a little planner. Um and we are on Spotify. I am in the process of still uploading it. It's actually not a very straightforward process, so uh, we will get on Spotify. But I know a lot of you like to watch, so that's really you can still watch on Spotify. So if you are on Spotify, the video will be up there. But I know it's nice if you're because it's harder to run your phone with YouTube, like if you're driving or whatever. So if it's something you just want to listen to, we're now on Spotify. So we're getting there. We're getting more high tech, slowly but surely, mostly slowly. Uh, but anyway, we're glad to be back. It was good to hang out with you. Sorry to tell you another horrific story, or not sorry. And we will see you next week.
Next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.